Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. In this video, we will continue Al-Kushairi's epistle on Sufism. Before start, if you still not subscribed, please subscribe and press bell icon. So let's start. Striving Mujahida. God Most High said, "And those who strive for our sake, surely we shall guide them in our ways. God is with the good doers." Abu al-Hussein Ali bin Ahmad al-Ahwazi related to us, Ahmad bin Ubaid al-Safar related to us, Al-Abbas bin al-Fadl al-Iskati related to us, Ibn Qasib related to us, Ibn Uyayna related to us from Ali bin Zayd, from Abu Nadra, from Abu Said al-Khudri, who said that the Messenger of God was asked about the most noble kind of spiritual self-exertion, jihad. He answered, "A word of justice spoken before a despotic ruler." On hearing this, tears started to flow from Abu Said's eyes. I heard the master, Abu Ali al-Daqqaq, may God have mercy on him, say, "If someone adorns his externals with striving, God will beautify his internal self with the vision of him." God Most High said, "And those who strive for our sake, surely we shall guide them in our ways." Know that anyone who does not strive for God's sake from the beginning will find no trace of this Sufi path. I heard Sheikh Abu Abdurrahman al-Sulami say, I heard Abu Usman al-Maghribi say, "Anyone who thinks that anything of the path will be revealed or unveiled for him without him exerting himself constantly is in error." I heard the master, Abu Ali al-Daqqaq, may God have mercy on him, say, "Whoever does not stand up at the beginning of his journey will not be allowed to sit down at its end." I also heard him say, "When people say movement is a blessing, they imply that bettering oneself externally brings blessing internally." I heard Muhammad bin al-Hussein say, I heard Ahmad bin Ali bin Jafar say, I heard al-Hussein bin Ulayya say, Abu Yazid said, "For 12 years I was the blacksmith of my soul. Then for 5 years I was the mirror of my heart. Then for 1 year I was looking at that which lay between the two, and lo, around the waist of my external being was an infidel's girdle. I then labored for 12 more years to cut it. I then looked, and lo, I saw an infidel's belt wrapped around my inner self. So I spent 5 more years trying to cut it. As I was wondering how I could cut it, the truth was revealed to me. I looked at God's creatures and saw them to be dead. So I uttered, 'God is great,' over them 4 times. I heard Sheikh Abu Abdurrahman al-Sulami say, I heard Abu al-Abbas al-Baghdadi say, I heard Jafar say, I heard al-Junayd say, I heard al-Sari al-Sakti say, 'O young men, exert yourself to the fullest before you have reached my age and become decrepit and incapable as I have.' He said this, although at that time the young men were nowhere near him in regard to the worship of God. I also heard him say, I heard Abu Bakr al-Razi say, I heard Abdul Aziz al-Najrani say, I heard Al-Hasan al-Qazaz say, this matter is based on three things: that you don't eat unless you are starving, that you don't sleep unless you are overpowered by slumber, and that you don't speak unless this is absolutely necessary. I also heard him, Al-Sulami, say, I heard Mansur bin Abdullah say, I heard Muhammad bin Hamid say, I heard Ahmad bin Khadravi say, I heard Ibrahim bin Adham say, no one will ever attain the degree of the righteous until he has overcome six obstacles. First, that he shut the door of bounty and opened the door of hardship. Second, that he shut the door of vainglory and opened the door of humility. Third, he shut the door of repose and opened the door of earnest striving. Fourth, that he shut the door of sleep and opened the door of night vigil. Fifth, that he shut the door of wealth and opened the door of poverty. Sixth, that he shut the door of hope for a better future and opened the door of readiness for death. Sheikh Abu Abdurrahman al-Sulami said, I heard my grandfather Abu Amr bin Nujayd say, when your soul is honored, your faith is debased. I heard Mansur bin Abdullah say, I heard Abu Ali al-Rodbari say, if a Sufi say after 5 days of fasting that he is hungry, then send him to the bazaar and tell him to earn his livelihood. Know that the root and foundation of striving is to wean one's soul from its habits and to accustom it to resist its passions at all times. The soul has two traits that prevent it from doing good. It is totally engrossed in pursuing its desires and refusal to perform acts of obedience. When the soul tries to break loose from the rider in pursuit of its passion, he must curb it with the reins of piety. When it becomes refractory in complying with God's will, he should steer it toward opposing its desires. When it rebels and flies into rage, he must bring it under control. For no struggle has a better outcome than one in which anger is conquered by good moral character, and its embers are extinguished by a display of gentleness. And when the soul discovers the sweet wine of relaxation and finds comfort only in displaying her fine traits and in preening herself before anyone who cares to look at her and takes notice of her, it is necessary to break her for her habit and to make her stop at the abode of humiliation by reminding her of her small worth, her lowly origins, and the turpitude of her deeds. The common folk strive to protect their actions from sin, while the elect endeavor to purify their internal states. For the strictures of hunger and night vigils are simple and easy, whereas the improvement of a man's morals and cleansing them of evil traits is much more difficult. One of the soul's most sinister traits is its tendency to take delight in fulsome praise. Anyone who partakes of this cup will carry the weight of heaven and earth on his eyelids. A sign of this condition is that when this drink of praise is withheld from him, his spiritual state reverts to indolence and inaptitude. For many years, a certain Sufi master used to pray in the front row of the mosque which he frequented. One day, something prevented him from arriving early at the mosque, so he prayed in the last row. After that, he was not seen there for a while. When someone asked him about the reason for that, he answered, I prayed in the front row for so many years. As I was performing my daily prayers, I thought that I was dedicating them to God only. The day I was late, I was overcome with the shame of sorts because the people in the mosque saw me in the last row. I thus came to realize that all my zeal all these years had derived from my desire to be seen doing my prayers. It is related that Abu Muhammad al-Murtaish once said, I used to go on the pilgrimage without any provisions or riding animals. I then realized that all of my effort was tarnished by my taking pleasure in doing that. One day, my mother asked me to bring a jar of water for her. When I found that request burdensome, I suddenly realized that my eagerness to perform the pilgrimages sprang from my soul's taking pleasure in that and from a blemish that still remained in it. For if my soul had been annihilated by ascetic rigors, it would not have found it burdensome to do something that is prescribed by the divine law. There was a woman who had reached a very old age. Someone asked her about her condition. She answered, when I was young, I found in my soul the powers and drives that I regarded as coming from the strength of my spiritual state. But when I grew older, they disappeared. It was then that I realized that these powers and drives came from the strength of my youth, not from the strength of my spiritual states, as I had imagined. I heard Sheikh Abu Ali al-Dakkak say, every Sufi master who has heard this story could not help feeling great compassion for this old lady and would say that she was absolutely right. I heard Muhammad bin al-Hussein say, I heard Muhammad bin Abdullah bin Shadan say, I heard Yusuf al-Hussein say, I heard Dulnun al-Misri say, God graces his servant with no greater honor than to show him the depravity of his soul. At the same time, God subjects his servant to no greater humiliation than to conceal from him the depravity of his soul. I also heard him, Muhammad bin al-Hussein say, I heard Muhammad bin Abdullah say, I heard Ibrahim al-Khawas say, there has not been a single frightful thing upon which I would not embark. I also heard him say, I heard Abdullah al-Razi say, I heard Muhammad bin al-Fadl say, rest is to be free from the aspirations of one's soul. I heard Abu Abdurrahman al-Sulami say, I heard Mansur bin Abdullah say, I heard Abu Ali al-Rudbari say, misfortunes come upon mankind from three things: disease in natural disposition, clinging to evil habits, and bad company. I, Mansur bin Abdullah, asked him about disease of natural disposition. He answered that it was eating forbidden food. I asked him about clinging to evil habits? He answered that it was looking at and listening to forbidden things and slander. I asked him about bad company. He answered that it was to follow any passion that arises in your soul. I heard Al Nasrbadi say, your soul is your prison. When you have escaped from it, you will find yourself in eternal ease. I heard Muhammad Al Farah say, I heard Abdul Hussain Al Waraq say, in the beginning of this affair of ours at the mosque of Abu Usman Al Hiri, our finest practice was to give away everything that was given to us as pious donation, to spend the night without knowing what our sustenance would be the next day. And when any of us encountered anything disagreeable, we took no revenge on those responsible for it. Instead, we excused the offenders and showed humility toward them. And when disdain for someone entered our hearts, we placed ourselves at his service and treated him with kindness until this feeling ceased. Abu Hafs al-Haddad said, the soul is nothing but darkness. Its secret heart is its lamp, and the light of this lamp is God's speed. Whoever is not accompanied by God's assistance in his secret heart lingers in total darkness. The Imam and Master Al-Kushairi said that the meaning of his word, the soul's lamp is its secret heart, is the secret that exists between the servant and God Most High. This is the sight of his sincerity by means of which the servant becomes aware that everything originates from God and not from him or by him. As a result, he frees himself from pretensions to any power and ability to act on his own at any time. He then becomes protected from the evil of his soul through God's assistance. For if this assistance is not extended to him, his knowledge of his self and of God will be of no use to him. Therefore, the Sufi masters have said, he who has no secret heart is doomed to persist in sin. Abu Usman al-Hiri said, a man cannot see the faults of his soul if he keeps finding anything good in it. Only he who blames his soul at all times will be able to see its faults. Abu Hafs al-Haddad said, how swift is the destruction of one who is unable to recognize his faults, for disobedience is the messenger of unbelief. Abu Sulaiman al-Darani said, I do not consider a single action of my soul to be good and do not expect it to be counted in my favor. Al-Sari al-Sakti said, beware of those who frequent the rich, those who recite the Quran in the marketplace, and those learned who serve worldly rulers. Dulun al-Misri said, corruption afflicts men due to the following 6 things. First, when their desire to work for the sake of the hereafter is weak. Second, when men's bodies become hostages to their lusts. Third, when they hold high hopes for the future while their life is so short. Fourth, when they strive to please creatures instead of pleasing their Creator. Fifth, when they pursue their passions while turning their backs on the Prophet's custom, Sunnah. Sixth, when they justify their failings by mentioning the minor slips committed by the noble forebears while burying their many virtues. Retreat, halwa, and seclusion Uzla. Abu al-Hasan Ali bin Ahmad bin Abdan related to us. Ahmad bin Ubaid al-Basri related to us. Abdulaziz bin Mawiyah told us. Al-Kanabi told us. Abdulaziz bin Abi Hazim related to us on the authority of his father, who related to him on the authority of Baja bin Abdullah bin Badr al-Juhani on the authority of Abu Huraira, who said, "The Messenger of God, may God's peace and blessing be upon him, said, the best of all possible ways of living is for a man to take the reins of his horse to fight in the way of God. If he hears sound of alarm and panic, he is on his horse back seeking death or martyrdom in the right place. Or this is the life of a man who tends his sheep and goats on a mountain peak, or at the bottom of a valley. He performs his prayers, gives alms, and worships his Lord until there comes to him the certainty of death. People see nothing but good for him. Retreat belongs to the elect, while seclusion is a sign of the people of union with God. It is incumbent on the seeker who embarks on the path to God to seclude himself from his own kind. Then, at the end of his path, he should practice seclusion in order to achieve intimacy with God. When a man chooses seclusion, he must be sure that he practices it in order to protect other people from his evil, not in order to be safe from their evil. The former comes from his thinking little of himself, while the latter comes from seeing himself to be better than others. A man who thinks little of himself is humble, whereas a man who considers himself to be more worthy than others is vain. Someone saw a monk and asked him, "You are a monk, aren't you?" He answered, "No, I am guarding a dog. My soul is a dog that bites people. I therefore have removed it from them so that they be safe from it." Once someone passed by a righteous man who, on seeing him, pulled his garment away from him. The passerby said, "Why are you pulling your garments away from me? My clothes are not impure." The righteous man answered, "I assumed that you would think that my clothes were impure, so I removed them from your way, lest they soil your clothes, not the other way around." One of the rules of seclusion is that the man who goes into seclusion must acquire enough knowledge to solidify his faith in the oneness of God in order not to be seduced by Satan's whisperings. Then he should acquire enough knowledge of the divine law to be able to fulfill his religious duties so that his undertaking would rest on a solid foundation. In essence, seclusion is but separation from reprehensible character traits. Its purpose is to turn bad qualities into good ones, not to withdraw from familiar places into the desert. Thus, when someone asks Sufis about the Gnostic Arif, they answer, "One who is here and not here," meaning that he is outwardly with creatures, while in his heart he is separate from them. For this video, we will finish here. Inshallah, we will continue in the next video. Please don't forget to subscribe. Till then, Allah Hafiz. Goodbye.